Being an Uber driver today is almost like entering a game of chance where the roulette wheel never spins in your favor. You start out believing you're achieving that long-awaited financial independence, that you'll have the freedom to work whenever you want, without a boss breathing down your neck and with the promise of making real money. But soon you discover that this so-called freedom is nothing but a cruel joke. You may choose the moment you turn on the app, but once it's on, you become a slave to notifications, underpaid rides, and an invisible pressure that makes you feel like you're stuck on a moving assembly line. You realize that being your own boss actually means being ruled by an algorithm that decides whether you make money or not by the end of the day. And that algorithm doesn't forgive. If you decline too many rides because they pay less than a mall parking fee, that's it. You start receiving fewer requests, as if you'd committed a mortal sin. The system punishes you, silently, and you quickly learn that there's no such thing as freedom here. You're free to drive, yes, but only within the house rules. It's like playing Monopoly with a cheating friend. The cards are already marked, and the bank always wins. And just when you think you're doing well, here comes the classic, a 20-minute ride for the price of a cup of coffee. All that's missing is a line on the app saying, "Congratulations on the effort, champ." But let's talk about the real experience. The passengers. The zoo on four wheels. There's everything. The one who gets in without a hello and immediately puts on headphones like you don't exist. The one who thinks they're in Uber Black and demands cold water, AC set to 66 degrees, and total silence. The chatterbox who turns the trip into an unsolicited podcast on politics, soccer, or their love life. And of course, the GPS expert who ignores the app and insists you turn left onto a street that isn't even there. And if you think the tip will save the day, think again. Most of the time, the best you get is a half-muttered thanks, and sometimes not even that. It's like your kindness is being paid in thin air. And then there are the nighttime passengers, because driving at night is a whole different experience. You become a psychologist, a security guard, and a driver all at once. You carry drunk people who sing, who cry, who fall asleep drooling in the back seat, or who insist on having relationship arguments on speakerphone. Not to mention the suspense of who will mess up the car first. Is it the teenager who swore they could handle their liquor, or the adult who thinks it's funny to ask you to stop just for a sec in the middle of the road? In the end, you're never sure if you're driving or surviving a stress test. But the driver's true enemy isn't the passenger, nor the traffic. It's the cost. Gasoline prices changing weekly like they're stocks. Car maintenance that never waits for the right time. Insurance, taxes, new tires, oil changes, and the worst part, all of it comes out of your pocket. You realize you're driving miles not to earn, but just to keep the car alive. At the end of the month, when you do the math, you see you've worked 12 hours a day only to pocket the equivalent of minimum wage if you're lucky. It's almost like paying to work. Meanwhile, the company shines. Uber announces billion-dollar profits, executives toast with champagne, and you get a warm email. Congratulations, you've completed 500 trips this month. A round of applause. Too bad it doesn't pay the bills. This is the ultimate irony. You work yourself to exhaustion for little money and still get the impression you should be grateful for the opportunity to drive. The driver's true prize is exhaustion, back pain, dark circles under your eyes, and a car seat molded permanently to your body. And there's also the adrenaline of living in constant risk. You never know who's getting into your car, never know if the next ride will be smooth or turn into a headline-worthy crime story. The GPS drags you into dark alleys, sketchy neighborhoods, places you never thought you'd set foot in. And underneath it all, that quiet fear. Is this ride worth the $2 I'm being paid? Because in the end, besides being a driver, you also become an expert in intuition and quick prayers. At the end of the day, being an Uber driver today is like living in an endless loop. You wake up, turn on the app, spend the whole day driving, deal with ungrateful passengers, pour money into keeping the car running, and finally discover your bank balance is always chasing after a promise that never arrives. Every week, the illusion resets. This time it'll work. This week I'll finally make good money. But it never does. And that's when you realize Uber isn't just driving your car. It's driving your life. And so, after all this, tell me, do you still think being an Uber driver is that financial freedom sold in commercials, or have you realized it's just another badly written reality show where you're the exhausted, underpaid protagonist? If you've ever lived through one of these bizarre situations, drop a comment below and tell me about the most absurd ride you've ever had. because I'm sure every driver has a story that sounds like a stand-up comedy bit. And if you've never driven for Uber but got into a car and did one of the things I mentioned, congratulations. You might have been the villain of the episode without even noticing. Now, before you click away from this video, hit that like button to show you're also done with this so-called freedom app scam. Subscribe to the channel because we've got plenty more ironic truths to expose. And share this video with that friend who thinks Uber is the magical solution to life. Who knows, maybe all they need is a strong dose of sarcasm to finally wake up.